Beathard sets up deep in the pocket. Goes down the field for Smith.
Has some time. One corner of the end zone. Touchdown!
Welcome to Big Ten Breakfast Recap. On a Sunday morning, we have Shane, Chris, and yours truly, Ginger Fantastic. Gentlemen, what a great week of college football we have just been entertained by the last 4 games left. Now down to 3. How's everyone doing today?
Doing all right. How are you?
That's great energy there. Okay, you're just on
He's
auto
been missing
right
for weeks.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and then fucking who's Michigan played? And I mean, I would take the couple weeks off too. No one cares. Like,
yeah,
shit. Like,
yeah. I've been to anyone who does actually listen to this. Yeah, I've been so busy with fire stuff and work, and it's just been a pain in the ass lately. So trying to get time off to do these has just been a little bit of a bitch lately. So
listen, we
glad
tell
to be
people,
here. Glad to be here.
We tell people, what do I tell people when he's gone? He's out there saving lives. Yeah, exactly. So
we call it the KK show, and we run from there.
One more K. With you not here, it has made us seem like we're 1K away from being banned. It's I tell you what, crazy week, just in not Big Ten, but college football in general.
Yes,
a lot of crazy stuff that happened. So let's start off with the Big Ten first. Now, before we do a recap on anything, we did need to talk to Shane about a couple of matters of interest involving his, it's interesting. He's out there saving lives conveniently around the same time. A huge scandal breaks out to his beloved.
Can't be found. Can't be heard from.
Lives. No, I'm a Michigan fan. I'm upright. And yeah. So
they're helping Connor Pack.
I'm sure you've paid attention to the Michigan scandal, haven't you?
Sure. I am a spokesperson for the Michigan Wolverines, so I have no problem speaking on this. So what questions do you have?
Okay, so a couple issues. When did you first hear about this, and did you think it was going to be as big of a deal as it's turned out to be?
Probably a few weeks ago. I think it was around the time when, honestly, it was around the time when I think just when the initial news story broke that there was a possibility, but no one had actually had evidence at the time. Obviously, that I forget the guy's name on the staff that had bought in a bunch of the tickets to a bunch of the games.
Stallions.
You didn't forget his name. No one's gonna forget his name.
I really did forget his name. But yeah, so I think that's when I first heard it. Before, obviously, there was any truth to it. Obviously, we found since then that there was a lot more tickets that he purchased than originally came out and things like that. So, and obviously, I've seen the memes from both ends of it. I've seen the Michigan fans on one end saying, "Well, in the NFL, you're gonna do this," and then I've seen it on the other side, where obviously everyone who Michigan's beaten in the last 3 or so years is just upset. So I can see it from both ends.
I don't care about how you see it. I want to know how you feel about it. I don't,
Did you guys talk about what Deion said?
No.
So Deion Sanders, obviously, greatest Colorado football coach of all time. He came out and said that doesn't matter if they know your whole game plan, you still got to win. I don't know. Did you guys see that quote? Did you guys?
We
See
did not, but I believe in that. I
saw
do.
that.
I'm on board
So
with that.
apparently, I'm now a Deion Sanders fan. Go Buffaloes.
Hey, Matt Rule kind of said the same thing. He didn't echo exactly what Deion said, but yeah, those two were the ones that came out and pretty much said, you got to win. You still got to win.
So honestly, I as a fan of the team, it's disappointing to know like, okay, honestly, and this might sound messed up to say, but it's like, why the haven't we won 2 championships if that's what the hell we were doing? You know what I mean? We got that far, and now obviously shows that we didn't scout teams like Georgia and TCU, because when we walked into those games in the last 2 years in the playoffs, we got our asses kicked. And then honestly, for the most part, in the last 2 years, most of our Big Ten games haven't been close. The closest game I can think of was the Illinois game last year where we won by a field goal. And if that was because of sign stealing or whatever, then yeah, I guess that one paid off for you. But most of these games haven't been close enough for most teams to warrant saying, well, you beat us by 40. We had a chance if you didn't know our signs. Like, nah, you probably still would have.
You beat us in Lincoln by cheating.
Oh wow!
Well, see, that's another one of those games.
I saw Connor. I saw him on the sideline.
We'll get to what happened in East Lansing in just a minute here.
Hey, stop it! Stop it!
But so yeah, it sucks from a fan perspective, obviously. But if the Patriots can do it and roll off of it, then I think I think we can roll off of it too. And I don't know. Now, I guess the biggest thing in question now is just what's going to happen to Jim and what's going to happen with him. A lot of people are speculating he might bounce off to the NFL and just kind of leave.
But no repercussions this season. I mean,
probably not this season. And it's the one thing that's tough with that too is it's like even with that I don't know the YouTuber or whatever you sent in our chat, May, where it was the Nebraska fan, and at the end of it, obviously he was very upset about Michigan, but he had no blame against the players whatsoever. He was like, hey,
that was a Michigan insider being interviewed by a radio show I listened to for Husker football. Like they brought in a Michigan insider, and he gave his thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I did get a chance to listen to that on.
So the one thing with penalizing college teams, it's kind of hard because it's like you don't want to penalize students who are going to be there in future years, but you obviously want to penalize the staff. Obviously, fines are the easiest way to do that. But like, how do you sanction a team for playoffs? Not being able to go to the playoffs, and that's actually recently happened with IARP in college basketball. There was a multitude of teams that got in trouble. Kansas, the latest, had their recently. Kansas, they had a cheating scandal a while back. They vacated one of their Final Fours, but they refused to prevent them from going to the NCAA tournament because now everyone on that team is new players. So how do you punish a bunch of guys that weren't on that team when that was going on? So I think, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be punished and there should be repercussions.
You think that,
I don't think. I think that obviously Harbaugh, didn't know anything about it. But it's hard. It's like, how can you tell, like JJ McCarthy or Blake Corum, unless they were directly involved, which I highly doubt they were.
They're just kids. They're just doing
kids.
what they're told.
They're doing what they're told, and they just, So how do you punish them and say, hey, we're not going to let you do this, this, and that?
You don't punish them. You punish you. You have to, in a sense, you have to punish the future. Those kids aren't really. Well, I guess they've got recruiting classes out till like 2027, but you almost have to punish the future, and you got to come down on this whole staff.
I'm sorry, but is it really punishing the future? Like they give these kids plenty of knowledge of what's coming up in allowing them to transfer and change their school, allegiances. So like, if you want,
you got to bowl ban them, you got to take scholarships away, you got to.
Well, maybe, scholarships is a big one. I think scholarships, obviously, possibly firings, that might happen internally within Michigan.
Are you scared you're going to lose Harbaugh?
He's been on the damn fence for 3 years.
I don't think scared is the word. Obviously, I've heard, I don't know if you guys heard the talks where because of this, he was going to be like the highest paid college football coach. And then that contract was essentially whisked off the table recently. I think
Which
it's
wasn't true. That's not true.
yeah,
That's
yeah. So I
false.
think it's still in Harbaugh's court. Like, does he want to deal with this in college? Like, so Harbaugh's proven he can take an NFL team to the Super Bowl. He's proven that he can take college teams to the college football playoffs, regardless of like, yeah, okay, we didn't, that's like there was some stuff going on there, but like he still is a good coach. I think he's still a good football coach. Like, there's no denying that. It's just up to him if he wants to deal with job pressure of like, do I want to be in a job where I'm going to be scrutinized week to week, or can I just float off to the NFL where no one's good? They're going to forget in a week or two that this even happened. And which most of this stuff is legal to do in the NFL. So why does it matter? You can have scouting teams in the NFL. So I think that's kind of going to be the big one is what Harbaugh wants to do. I mean, if he wants to leave, I understand. I mean, you cheated and you got caught. Like, I get it. Like, that doesn't look good on you. And
He's no.
I mean,
Urban
it's a
Meyer.
gray area. Like,
Yeah.
I can't remember that insider's name, but like he said, I mean, they've only if they cheated in this whole thing, it was this much. The rest of it was inside of the gray area
Of the
of the
loophole.
rule. So like all he did was all that Michigan did was get a like that meme where they're like, oh, he's living in 2045. You know what I mean? Like in a sense, that's what Connor or Michigan or whoever orchestrated this thing. They found a gray area that they knew that wasn't really going to be punishable. The part that they could get punished on is going to be very little, and it's just going to make the NCAA adapt. Like which they probably won't because they're such a corrupt piece of shit organization. But like the more and more I've thought about it, it's almost like you tip your hat to them because they got ahead of it and no one else did, or I'm sure other teams do it, but like the way that Michigan put it together and and enjoyed the fruits of the labor, I thought was, I mean, it's almost like good on you because why isn't anybody else doing that? Everyone knows the bylaws, everybody knows the gray area. They just took a chance and then Ohio State, Ryan Day's brother, he got the stink involved. So I was all bitter and sour about it, but at the other end, I'm like,
It's football. It's like
Yeah.
it reminds me of NASCAR where Dale Earnhardt said, if your crew chief isn't cheating or trying to cheat, he's not a good crew chief.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like football's the same way. Any advantage you think is an advantage is an advantage.
Yeah.
And okay, you got caught, but
I hope he writes a book because I'll read it. Connor's book, because that manifesto that they found about how he wanted to be the next Michigan coach and how he wanted to build
600-page manifesto. Have you heard about this, Shane?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
600-page manifesto.
He wants to win a national championship for Michigan using analytics and scouting. He wants to go into the future of where everything else is headed. And, like if that ever gets released, I'm reading that, for sure. Because when you hire a brilliant mind like that was in the government, because Harbaugh, most staffs probably have these kind of people on their staff. It's just Harbaugh's known
At
for
Iowa.
hiring these kind of specialized individuals for different quiet little edges. I mean, like I said, like Jim in his damn khaki pants, whatever. But to build a staff like that, to almost have it like, like its own little sneaky society that has powers that no one else has. I like it in a sense. Now I'm starting to turn the other way. Because it's creative. I mean, why not hire someone that was a government asset and then try to help use them for the benefit of your team? Because if he wins a national championship in Michigan, they're going to put up statues on statues of Harbaugh. Played at Michigan, he's got that lore and got that that they're going to make fairy tales about it.
Before we get too carried away about Michigan, that win against Purdue, like I just watch Michigan play football, and I mean, of course, this is your team, but this is like maybe the third time this season I've sat down and watched Michigan play, and it's Purdue, man. It's nothing special, and you guys struggle so much in the first half that it reminds me a lot of last year, or was it last year? Yeah, where you got blown out by TCU, like where you struggled similarly, but now you're playing against a quality opponent and they're gonna, always that was an instance of them just capitalizing early and often. And that doesn't always happen every football game, obviously, but I mean, the domination doesn't come until mid third quarter. It feels like you start to really control a game and take out hope. And that's because you're just, you got the depth there, but depth is not the same as talent.
I
And
feel like they play to their competition too much, Michigan. Like they because they know they're so much
in the
better than
beginning,
everybody.
right?
Yeah, in the beginning, they pick and play and tease, and then they're like, okay, we have enough. Like, let's stop a mud hole in them. When they should probably be beating everybody by, 45 points. When the spread is 32 and a half, you should go in there and beat them by 32 and a half. Like you should absolutely wipe the floor with Purdue.
So
With
you think it's restraint, not
So,
not a shell of strength.
I, so it's funny you guys mention this, right? So I think this kind of just proves how great we've been in the Big Ten the last 2 years. You guys are talking about a team we struggled against last night. The score was 41-13. Okay. When's the
There-
last time Nebraska and Iowa beat a team 41-13? And the last touchdown for Purdue came with 18 seconds left on the clock. It was 41-6. We were covering the spread, and we allowed them to score a touchdown with 18 seconds left in the game.
Yeah,
So
but you didn't. It
for
was 7-20 for a
if a
very
game
long time.
if a game like that is what we consider a bad performance, I think that just proves how well we've been playing over the last 2 years. If that's the kind of game you nitpick, or you look at and you're like, hey, they didn't cover my DraftKings bet last night, and I need to talk about how Michigan allowed a touchdown in the last 18 seconds with our fourth
just
strings that are not on scholarships playing in the games.
these motherfuckers have cost people money. Michigan.
So I think yes, you're right. As you know, it was 20-0 at the half. We scored 21. We allowed them to score. I'm sorry, it was 20-6 at the half.
Yeah.
And the first half I was even a little disappointed, but when 14-point spreads are disappointing, I think you're still in a good place. Like,
Yeah,
hey, we're only
for
winning
sure.
by 14. What the hell are we doing? And there was a few. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of you watched. JJ was a little bit off in the end of the
Yeah.
second quarter and threw some just bad
Well, and they were getting
passes.
some good pressure, like and like there was decent coverage in the beginning. It definitely felt like it was a wear down issue more than anything. Like wear
It might
down
be.
and depth is what wins Michigan these games against a team like Purdue that doesn't have the depth yet. But this is first year coach, and my concern is what happens when you go play against Penn State, who does have depth, or and I think you'll beat Penn State, but I'm not convinced you're going to beat Ohio State. I think Ohio State's nittier, grittier. They're just they got more gumption than Michigan has, and maybe that's just because we haven't seen anyone compete against Michigan, and we feel like everyone they take on is just beneath them. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see them actually tested. Like they haven't been. When have they been tested, Shane?
Yeah, I'm
This
interested
season.
to see. Um,
They haven't.
yeah, we played a
3
game
weeks left. We got 3 weeks left of football, and we haven't seen Michigan tested yet. And then I hear
and we have
announcers
our
bitching
three.
about them being number 3. Like, oh, they should be number 1 in my book. And I'm like, but
You got to play somebody first.
I actually think Ohio State's ranking is pretty is warranted. The number 1 ranking they got. Georgia at least took out Kentucky, which was ranked at the time, for that number 2 spot. And I think even Florida State has a good, role of what where they want to be up in the top. So yeah, our next 3 games are obviously going to be the toughest 3 games we play all season: at Penn State, at Maryland, and home against OSU. But
Remember, that's what we talked about a couple weeks ago. Is Michigan's got to
mhm.
beat Penn State, beat Maryland before they get any love for the top 2. Remember, because that's what we said. I said that their schedule has been so soft up to the last 2 that they're not going to get any real love for first place votes until they dismantle Penn State, and then going into Ohio State, it'll be those good old days of
Is it
1
Penn
versus
State
5
next
or
week?
1 versus 3, or you know what I mean? Like what?
Is Penn State next week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we know what the opening
I don't
spread
believe
on that
so.
is?
I don't think it's open yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it though. I think it'll be a good game. At Penn State, they're obviously going to be jazzed and hyped up to win that game. They came out real flat against OSU, so they're sure they're looking to get back into the race themselves. Because the only way Penn State gets back into this is they beat us and we beat Ohio State
Yep.
at the end of the year. That's the only way it works for them. Otherwise, they've already lost their chance. If they lose against Michigan, they have no shot at the Big Ten title this season. Maybe the playoffs, but it's something crazy would have to happen, like us losing to Maryland and Ohio State losing to whoever they play in the next 2 weeks. So, which is probably not going to happen. So we'll see how that goes. And and even the win over Notre Dame is starting to seem not as great as it was because Notre Dame
Right.
fell out
Looks
flat a few
bad.
times. The Penn State win looks good though because Penn State did come out and beat the shit out of who the hell did they play yesterday?
Penn State played yesterday, Maryland.
Yeah, they beat them pretty good. So
51-15. Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But yeah, let's get into some of these other Big Ten games that happened
Well, let's do the
yesterday.
Penn State Maryland one because the
Okay.
Terrapins for Maryland finished with minus 49 rushing yards yesterday. So
Dude,
Penn State's trying to make a point now.
Well, and Maryland just looks tired. They look like ass. Like, I mean, they are dog water. It is so bad because I thought that was my dark horse for the East was Maryland, and I don't know what happened to them, but it ain't good.
Well,
Like
Penn State's defense is very solid, and I mean, Maryland just. How do you finish with? Has there ever been a team that finished with minus 49 rushing yards?
I'm sure. I think they do like sack yards if you
Sack,
pay
yeah.
sack yards into there. So I think that's part of why it's so low. Like those few games where Iowa's QB had those weird rushing stats, it was just because of sack yards. Yeah, that was just a dismantling. 51-15. That was the biggest blowout yesterday. So that was just kind of sad on their part.
Yeah. So Maryland's definitely over with. Penn State trying to make a point.
And then Ohio State over Rutgers, 35-16. That was expected, I think, maybe by more. I mean, they beat them by 19 points. That's
Did you watch that game at all?
I did not.
Okay, so Rutgers did put up a nice little fight in the first half there. Similar thing.
Shiano, he does that, man. It's just
Yep.
he doesn't have the depth yet to put 4 quarters together because they'll fight and they'll fight and they'll fight, and you can't get that fat kid in the van until he gets worn out. Like,
well,
I mean,
and they went in with they were losing at the end of the first half. It was the first.
Well, I know, but when you watch them, you're like,
no, Ohio State was losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State was losing to Rutgers going into halftime. That's first time ever this season. So, I mean, Rutgers came out with a lot of heart, but I think you said it's the depth. It's just
there were a lot of upsets yesterday.
Man, it was crazy in the West.
So, Wisconsin, Indiana beat Wisconsin.
Why didn't we think? There's 2 things that really pissed me off about our bets yesterday. The first one is this game. Why did I not think that the death of Bobby Knight would not lead to a Indiana win?
Yeah. We dropped the ball on that.
We didn't even think about that. Bobby Knight passes away, I think Friday night.
Yep.
Everyone's Bobby Knight, legend of Indiana. All those kids from Indiana know Bobby Knight is. one of my best friends in New York growing up was from Indiana, and I mean, that guy taught me more about how to play basketball than anyone else in my life. I had no clue basketball was, what it was. And that was all because of Bobby Knight. That's the outreach, all the way across the world. And then Wisconsin just comes in there thinking they're playing humdiddly dumb Indiana, and they were not. You're playing a jazzed up Indiana team. And once they tasted blood, man, they rolled.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
And they're still playing. Did Braylon Allen play? Because I know he got hurt last week at the end of their game. And then I think Wisconsin is still playing their backup quarterback. So, But fuck Wisconsin. Good Indiana. Good job.
I mean, that's a huge loss because that essentially puts Wisconsin out of the race for the Big Ten West championship.
Yeah, it's going to come down to your team that scores fucking 6 points a game to represent the West.
Are we going to talk about my Hawks next?
Did you see that breakdown? There was more runs scored in baseball games in that stadium than what Northwestern and Iowa did.
Ah, Jesus, that's so sad.
It's
and by football, ladies and gentlemen, you can get 2 points, you can get 3 points, you can get 6 points, 7 points. In baseball, 1. It's just, you know what I mean? The math football should be up there. You should be able to obliterate any baseball high score record in that stadium.
And any of you guys, did you watch that game on Peacock live stream?
I put it on Peacock and it pixelated. It wouldn't focus in, so I got rid of it.
I listened to the entire game because I'm just not going to buy another subscription. And so first of all, couple issues going into the game. We talked about this Friday night. We're playing in Wrigley Field. I don't know if you saw the field goal post bolted onto the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to Coach Don Patterson, and he said, I wonder how the receivers like running their 9 routes into a wall, a brick wall. So all the coaches, I don't know if you know this, Shane, the coaches had to coach from the same sideline.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
So if your team was down on the other side of the field, you don't get to really.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's why I wanted to watch it. I wanted to watch it for that aspect of it.
And then Iowa did, first of all, special teams struggled. Taylor had an average of 39.5-yard punts. Punted one 50-yard, tight spiral that was returned for 23 yards and set up Northwestern's only touchdown. So that was rough. But we also got a block punt, which set up a field goal. So, they put Cooper DeJean on offense for one play for a double reverse. They got 4 yards, which I'm like, what are you doing? Why are we doing this now? The guy, they showed his stat for how many snaps he takes. He does all defensive snaps plus all special team snaps. And now we're going to throw him in on offense because Brian Ferentz doesn't have a career after this year. Jesus Christ.
They're picking plays off Madden at this point. There's no game plan of what they're doing on offense.
And we win. Why does, my girlfriend's like, my girlfriend had Peacock on her TV. She's like, you can watch it there. And I'm like, I can't watch an Iowa game right now. I'm still traumatized from Minnesota 2 weeks ago. And dear God, if something bad happens this game against a team that has routinely beat us in Northwestern, and Kirk Ferentz was already salty. He had to play in Wrigley Field. And now his son's fired, by an interim athletic director. This could go either really well or it could just go horribly wrong. And somehow we won. And then we had Wisconsin lose. We had the Gophers lose in a poetic justice of a game before they take on Ohio State.
Illinois.
And Nebraska lost. I'm sorry, May, but why do they do this? We win a game, and now all of a sudden we could still afford to lose one. We could lose to Rutgers and still have and still win the Big Ten West and dethrone Ohio State. So it'll be fascinating to see what the Hawks have in plan. I feel like we're going to lose to Rutgers next week.
And
It'll
then it's
just
going
be
to come
gut-
down to us.
and then it's going to this Big Ten West is going to take a 3-4 loss team to and dear
Nobody
God,
wants it. Nobody wants
It's
to.
so
They're like, who can we vote to go play Michigan or Ohio State?
it's so
Because I'm
hard to
over
watch
it.
sometimes.
I'm over it.
It's so hard to watch.
It's like,
like Nebraska's defense is amazing, but their offense is hot.
What
trash.
happened in East Lansing yesterday?
Yeah.
in East Landfill, we came out flat. We came out so flat, and this is what I was afraid of. All this hype of
Going bowling.
Going bowling, and everyone was like, there was like a couple of the Husker legends on the coaching staff with Osborne and all that. They came out and they tried to tell everybody this is a trap game. This is Michigan State. Yeah, they suck, but they're gonna get you, and they sure did get us. And our offense makes me want to fucking vomit. Like, we have no identity. We ran the ball so damn good at the beginning, and then we were like, you know what? Fuck that. Why keep doing something that works? Let's get spicy. And Harburg, you Tim Tebow throwing fucking punk bitch ass. Like, I can't. Like, he runs the ball really good, but
He should be playing fullback.
He's a tight end. You don't remember Blake Bell for Oklahoma back in the day, where when he left Oklahoma, he converted to tight end, and he's a pretty good NFL tight end. That's Harburg. He's not like he just ain't it. Like, and Jeff Sims is definitely ain't it, because every time Jeff comes in, him goddamn chicken greasy fingers fumble the football every fucking time. And Brock Purdy's little brother Chuba.
You haven't tried him out yet, have you?
He's played little. He's been hurt this whole year.
He came in the end of that Colorado game, I think.
He's been hurt, but supposedly he's the best passer we have on the staff. But
how tall is he?
Probably 6'2", 6'1.5". Like,
you might have to go to that, because I don't.
Yeah, at this point, we have a Olympic track team for wide receivers with these freshmen. These 3 freshmen run 4 340s. They're fast. They're quick. And we just can't get them. Harburg, I don't know if you guys watched the game. We had a white wide receiver wide open down the seam, and Harburg throws it to the middle of the field. I mean, to the opposite hash, and it gets picked. And we tackle him on like the 2 or the 3. So it was like a big punt. He was so wide open, he could have caught it backwards on his butt cheeks into the end zone if Harburg just would have got it to the area. Like, and I know we don't want to shit on refs, but I'm going to shit on them, because that Michigan State had a TD that even Dean Blandino, the head official ref in LA, said that was not a touchdown. The ball hit the ground. You saw the ball jostle. No touchdown. What do those cockbacks do in East Landfill? Touchdown, Spartans. Harburg gets his face mask ripped behind his head. No flag for that. Malachi Coleman gets tackled by the safety and the corner on a deep ball. No PI. Like, and then to end the game, we run an in route past the first down. Malachi catches it past the first down yardage. They run the clock. They said no, he didn't get past the first down. The next play, Harburg drops back, throws it, and the guy his motion was coming forward. The ball came out, incomplete pass. They said that it was a live ball, and that's how the game ended. The game ended on that. Like, I
listened to that podcast you sent to us, and people were calling in on that radio show, updating the locations. There were so many Husker fans from Nebraska that drove to East.
Yeah, because they wanted to see Yeah, they wanted to see it.
Nebraska go bowling.
Yeah.
That has got to be the worst drive home. Like
we were playing such good football. Like, and what
was the final score to that game?
20-17.
Yeah. Like, and our freshman kicker can make a 60-yard field goal.
Yeah,
all we had to do was get a couple more yards, but it was just the way that unraveled. We just had, like I said, we have no identity on offense. We don't know what we want to be. We haven't known what we want to be.
The
for
problem
10 years.
is the problem is, May, is you have to embrace that the fact you have no identity is your identity.
What the fuck does that mean?
That means your identity is irrelevant offense supported by defense and special teams.
That's not going to win you anything.
Iowa should be a one-loss team going into next week. You know what I mean? One loss, and they haven't had an offensive identity for 3 years. Sorry,
I was willing to sell stuff to get ready to buy my ticket to our bowl game yesterday. I also had to work. Every time I have to work on Saturdays, we lose. We lose every time. Every time I work on Saturdays, we lose. I get home and I'm sitting in there and I'm watching it with my mother-in-law, and I'm sure she's thinking, this motherfucker is crazy. He's screaming at a bunch of kids. He's cussing. He's getting mad. My kids are trying to take naps. And I just it was frustrating, man. Like I want so bad for Harburg to be it. I want the Nebraska kid to come in to take the, because this is what we all dreamed of when we were younger, is I want to be the quarterback for Iowa and represent for Michigan, for Nebraska. Like I want to be I'm not from there, but I've always thought it would be really cool. But these kids that are from Nebraska grow up to want to be that person. And we have one. And what the
it's 1 year though. It's your first year with Rule, and the fact Nebraska is fighting to go bowling and will get to go bowling is
why we have, who says we have Wisconsin and we have Iowa. We could go we have Maryland too.
Yeah,
we have Maryland.
Yeah, you're
if
going.
Maryland keeps playing doo-doo. Yeah.
Well, I think you win 2 out of 3 of those games for sure. And it's very possible with the way Iowa's playing, you could win out and be, 3 weeks from now, you're in a great spot. It's not horrible. It's a little bit of a overreaction. I mean, I could understand if this was like year 6 of Scott Frost with no future, and but you've got a new coach who's already proven he can turn the system around with the crappy talent he's got right now. And who knows what you guys are going to do next year. I don't know what your schedule looks like next year, but yeah.
I think our easiest game next year is like South Dakota State, and that's not even going to be an easy game. It's either we play the Jackrabbits or we play the Bison. So we play an FCS powerhouse, and I think they come to Lincoln. So we're known for shitting the bed when those smaller schools come to Lincoln.
If it's South Dakota State, I'll go to that game. Represent South Dakota over here.
I'm gonna look.
Get my Jackrabbit on.
Represent South Dakota.
They won the national championship last year for FCS.
FCS. Yep. That's
It's still, within a league of your own to win a national championship, pretty good. What game we got left? What game do we got left to talk about here?
I think we're moving into the rest of the games because we've kind of briefly mentioned all the other games here. I mean, we mentioned that Illinois beat Minnesota.
Wisconsin.
And we mentioned all the other upsets, the blowouts. I think we're kind of just into the rest of the NCAA at this point. And there were some interesting results.
Sorry, Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa is who we play.
Northern Iowa.
Well, they suck. They suck, man. You'll go down on them.
We got like a Michigan-like schedule: UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana, Ohio State, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, and Iowa. That's disgusting.
Well, let's talk about USC and what crap. I mean, they're going to have a new coach next year, guaranteed. This USC.
Lincoln Riley's out.
Who can run a ticker? Can we run the bottom? Corey thinks.
Yeah, I'll
Corey
put it on
thinks
there.
he's
No,
out.
did you see that horrible display of defense in that game? Holy crap.
Yeah, Grinch has got to go. If Lincoln Riley, I don't think he gets fired, but the AD and all them are going to come down and be like, you got to fix this. Like we can't have 5 stars out our ear holes and give up as many points as we score. We just can't do it. Like, and then for Caleb Williams to go cry and pout, and I don't think he's him. I don't know. I don't know what
That's
y'all's
supposed to
take on.
be that's supposed to be the number 1 draft pick, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Heisman
He
front
gives off
runner.
Ryan
Previous
Leaf
Heisman winner.
vibes.
Ryan Leaf. Oh,
Interesting.
that's not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and Washington, man, that guy ran for 300 yards yesterday.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
usually do it through the air, and to do it on the ground
You
like
called that too.
Yeah.
You called that as well. You said watch out for the inside line play there because USC is super weak, and Washington's just going to go Big Ten football on them and run them right into the ground. That's going to be, man. Well, I like getting Washington into our conference. I'm excited about that. Oregon too. I like Oregon's style of football. I
Dude,
think their
Oregon might be the best team in college football. I know they lost to Washington, but Oregon scares the piss out of me. If I don't know, they look really good.
Well, and I think Florida State looks weak. I don't think they deserve that spot at all. Or are they number 4?
Yeah, don't they have one loss?
No, I don't
I
think
believe
they do.
they're undefeated.
They almost lost. Well, they're doing that same. They won 7-24 yesterday, but I mean it was a tight game for a long time, and they just looked sloppy, and it wasn't good. I forget who they played last.
Shane, out of all those big teams, because I mean, if it rides out the way you want it to ride out, like who scares you out of Washington, Florida State, you know, Oregon if they make it somehow, like Georgia, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, Georgia, OSU are going to be the big ones, just because we've already we've lost to them in the last 2 years, and they've won the last 2 national championships. So it's until they lose, it's kind of theirs to lose, in my opinion. But yeah, Oregon and Washington are good. We'll see how that pans out because they still have to play each other, just like we still have to play Ohio State. So I could easily seeing it being a I could see it being a Washington and Oregon football playoffs finals, like two Pac-12 teams, and I could see it being 2 Big Ten teams. I could see, they always like to sneak Alabama in there at the end, so I'm sure I could see it being a 2 SEC teams. So any of
That's
those
what I
teams
don't want. I don't want
Mhm.
Georgia and Alabama, like, because if Georgia doesn't lose, obviously it's going to be Georgia, and then
It'll be FSU too. If FSU wins out, they'll make it.
So
But if
FSU and
FSU,
Georgia, and then the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, and then whoever wins the Pac-12, right?
yeah, and honestly, I think that, yeah, probably whoever wins the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 and the Big Ten have a better shot at getting a 2-team in. Obviously, the SEC is just always going to be there because it's the SEC, and they like to suck off the SEC every single year. So, like, that's going to be one where we'll have to watch if Alabama somehow makes it to the championship and plays Georgia and beats Georgia. Georgia's a 1-loss team. Bama's a 1-loss team. They're probably going to
Oh, you
sneak them both in
guarantee
there.
it'll be Bama and Georgia. Ugh.
Yeah, you can't leave an undefeated FSU out, but I guarantee if FSU loses one game, that's not as bad as Alabama losing one game. So they're going to have Alabama in there instead.
Yeah.
And that's how they'll do that. So
I mean, Washington's undefeated, right?
Yeah.
9-0.
But they're not giving
You
them.
can't.
They're not jumping them over FSU because of Washington's past couple games with it being so close. Like they don't like they. I think the voters want to see Washington get back to dominance like the early season. There's too much tape out there and everything now. Like, and everybody knows that Washington's defense is bend but don't break.
Suspect.
So it's FSU, but like you said, you almost lost to Boston College and which FSU is good when they're healthy. They're dominant, but still, it's like it's all about who's going to bring the most money in. And Nick Saban getting left out of the party last year, he's going to make for damn sure that if they beat Georgia, that he's gonna have Miss Saban pack the bags for all the students, and they're going to the goddamn playoff. Like, which is what it is. So, but that's interesting because if Ohio State and Michigan go undefeated, into the
Can't have
final
a one
game.
loss. Yeah.
Which
But
is what
makes a
it
one
was last
loss?
year.
What makes a one loss Michigan or Ohio State? What scares me is if Michigan loses, they're gonna say, well, a one loss Alabama team has played tougher people than a one loss Michigan team, and that's gonna be the shit end of the stick that kicks Michigan out, which isn't fair because I mean it's just because it's Alabama, that don't mean a shit. That don't like Michigan brings in money just like Alabama does. It's just Nick Saban, it's
Mm-hmm. And it'll always be like that for Alabama as long as Saban's there and as long as they're competing on the top of the SEC. But yeah, so we'll
that's
see.
why I was
We'll see
hoping
how that goes.
Alabama would lose 4 games this year, just to kind
I
of
was,
quietly
I
push
mean,
them out.
I was impressed by how they played against LSU. I thought Alabama was going to turn it into an ugly game, and when they realized LSU was going to go score happy, they just decided to match them, and they won that matchup. And I'm like, that's pretty ballsy to change your game plan and then do it better than the other teams doing it for it than against.
Well, for the
you know,
running
so
back
thank you.
or for Milrow to have 20 carries, over 200 yards rushing, and 4 TDs on the ground, I mean, that's quite the stat line for a quarterback. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
Notre
I mean,
Dame
it was
got
a coming
upset
out
yesterday
party for
too
yeah.
for Bama. Yeah.
After Dabo lost his cool against the
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, you see.
did
what
you
they
hear
do.
him though? He said, "You better buy stock now. You better buy stock in Clemson now because we coming." And I'm
5
just
and
like,
4 Clemson. Yeah, 5 and 4 Clemson. Buy stock and 5 and 4 Clemson
yeah.
now.
Clemson stock was at a penny. Like,
Okay, so yeah, so Notre Dame got upset by Clemson in Clemson. Mississippi played a good game against Texas A&M, but typical Texas A&M, they lost. I watched the end of the Texas-Kansas State game when it went to overtime. Kansas State missed a stupid field goal that would have. They missed the field goal and they got the ball back, kicked the field goal, tied the game. They had a missed extra point that would have won them the game earlier, and then they just blew it in OT. They were on the 4 or 5 yard line. Texas scored a field goal
yep.
in
Yep.
overtime, and they
Yep.
were on the 4 or 5 yard line, decided to go for it, and did not
But
get
do
it.
you blame him? Because
Do you
I
respect that
really,
call?
yeah, I do. Because you have nothing to lose. You're going against Texas. K-State hasn't been as dominant as they were last year. You have a chance to take them out, and you just kind of roll the dice there. I mean, why not?
Yeah, no, I get that, but yeah, they still lost, unfortunately.
Your
Tulane,
defense held them to 3 points.
So you say kick it,
your
keep
defense
going?
held.
your defense
I
held
say
them to 3
kick it and keep
points.
one
I
more.
would
At
have kicked
least
it
one
too.
more.
I would have kicked it too, but that's whatever. Air Force got embarrassed by Army yesterday. They were undefeated up until yesterday. They lost 23-3 at home. So that was and Army was an 18-point underdog. So that was embarrassing for Air Force there. Georgia beat Missouri 30-21. Mizzou put up a pretty good fight, I thought. Florida State beat up on Pitt 24-7. Oklahoma State upset Oklahoma.
That was my game. That was my
Texas
extra game.
Texas is now number 1
You called it.
in the Big 12 standings. So that's good for them. Kansas beat ISU. Washington beating up on USC. I know we already briefly touched that. And then Arizona
What was
upset
the final for the ISU score?
24-21. So they played well against Kansas. Kansas is at a solid number 2 spot. They're
They
tied
got
with
down
Oklahoma,
early,
and they
too.
have the tiebreaker over Oklahoma. So
Yeah.
that's good for them. Washington, like you guys said, they beat up on USC. Oregon State beat up on Dion and the boys. And
What was the final for that one?
26-19 touchdown score difference. And then Arizona, I'm sure you guys saw upset UCLA yesterday, 27-10. So
Yeah, I forgot they played yesterday because that's probably I would have taken them over the Oklahoma State game, but I mean, I won either way. Corey, what was your extra game? Do you remember?
Washington versus USC.
Oh,
I called Washington to win that.
I thought you called USC to win that by 3.
I
Ooh.
don't. We'll
Do we
have to
need
roll the tape back. I'm
rewind the
pretty sure I
tape
called
on that?
Washington to win
Because
that.
so
I don't think I've ever bet for USC.
is
Ever.
Caleb Williams the
Ever.
softest
listen.
quarterback
Yeah.
in the entire
Sean soft.
Yes.
college football?
No. I'm taking it back. The LSU quarterback is right there with him.
What?
Who went into concussion protocol and proceeded to have his mother join him in the tent so they could cry about it in private.
He took a helmet to the chin.
Okay, so
He's crying about
Caleb
it.
Williams.
And,
Okay, so there was. I know there's last year. There's a lot of people.
called my
mad
mom
that
into my tent. They called her off the stands. Hey, Cheryl,
Your
come
son
here. Your
dead,
boy's
yeah.
crying.
Well, what's worse, that or I just want to go home and cuddle my dog and watch Netflix?
and
'cause
then
I'm a
and then
pussy.
and then you're
Depends
jumping
on the
in.
dog. It
Well,
depends on the dog.
Well, here's the reverse of this, Corey. You know, one, they brought the mom onto the field into the tent to cry in private with their kid. The other one, Caleb Williams, jumps into the stands to cry with his family in public. So,
At least he was man enough to cry in public.
I'm just hoping he had the right phone number painted on his fingernails this week. So when he went home, he had someone to call about it.
Yeah. He's such a pussy. Like, he's.
Wait, he paints his fingernails? That's what that emoji was
Yeah.
for in our chat?
Yes, he paints
Yeah.
his fingernails.
Yeah.
What color were they today? Or for game day?
I don't know. I don't know.
Fuchsia.
Does he like match USC colors, or is it like?
No, I remember
Oh,
last
watch
year.
the Wendy commercials. Watch the Wendy's commercials. You'll see that he's got fingernail paint on his fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Wendy's commercial, he paints them the Wendy's colors. So I'm sure he paints them USC colors or.
I know he'll do different stuff. I know last year during he like 1 week he did like the suicide hotline, and then the next week he did like a USC. He did like USC painting, and like he just paints them every week for every game.
Now, why couldn't he sell his fingernail paint to a sponsor?
Because he probably gets it from Claire's.
Why couldn't he sell his, you know what I mean? Like that'd be. I'm glad that it's like skipping in the stream because all I saw was a hand gesture by May and then followed by he gets it from his players.
No, from Claire's.
Claire's. He said he gets it from Claire's.
Oh.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. USC is always. I called this at the beginning of the season. USC is a nobody. They just always get ranked. They always are somehow ranked, and then they just turn out to be an absolute garbage team. And it's proving the case again.
It's the Lincoln Riley effect.
Yep.
It's the USC effect.
You do enough offseason. He did the same thing with Oklahoma. You do enough offseason hype, and you play well enough in the regular season where people are like, "Hey, maybe they will be where they need to be," and then they lose a bunch of games, and you're like, "Huh." Or you go to the,
or they get to the playoff.
It's the playoffs.
Can we make a bet?
Yeah. What?
Can we make a bet right now on? Would you take USC being ranked in the top 20 next year preseason polls, or the against the field?
Does Caleb Williams come back?
Is
to
USC
school?
going to be ranked top 20?
Does Caleb Williams come back to school?
So
if he comes back to school, they're going to put him in the top 10.
He's obviously coming back to school.
Then they're going to put him in the top 10.
Yeah. Interesting. They'll take all the hype
if he doesn't return, where do they put him?
Top 20, probably. Yeah. 20.
Yeah, they're still going to be in the top 25.
Mm-hmm. They'll be
ranked. You take USC no matter what against the field.
They're going to be ranked next year. If Lincoln Riley's still the coach, they'll be ranked because he'll get enough 5 stars to get him ranked again.
Yep.
Top 20.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yep.
USC, they're not that good.
Future Big Ten team right there.
Yeah, they're going to get crushed for years.
I can't wait for USC at Kinnick.
Yeah, not going to be pretty for them. Welcome to our little town, bud. Where you score 10 points and might beat us 9-10, but you're still only going to score 10 points.
You're going to get the shit beat out of you. You're going to feel it. Well, let's talk. This is interesting though with the Notre Dame thing. Is it because they're not in a conference and they have to travel all over the fucking place that they're just exhausted? Like they're just, you know what I mean? Like since they're independent, they go every which way, sideways, up, down. You know, like if they were in a conference, I think you wouldn't see them this exhausted. You would see them wiping the floor with people. But Notre Dame's one of those teams too that's very fugazi. Like they do really good, and then you bring them into the big dance and they piss on themselves. Like, but I love Sam Hartman, but I mean they look exhausted. Watching them against Clemson a little bit, they look tired. I don't know. I mean, I'm not making excuses, but it's just interesting to see if it would be different if they were attached to a conference.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. It's
Because that would have been a big get for the Big Ten. I mean, I know Notre Dame prints its own money, but damn, that would have been a really good get for the Big Ten. So,
who are you guys most excited about bringing into the Big Ten next year?
Washington and
Oregon.
Oregon?
Yeah, I think they're going to be. Well, it's going to be divisionless, right? So, I don't. I'll have to read it when it scrolls by. I think. Oh, here we go. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I think Oregon is going to be a dominant force in the big. Like, I know it's going to be divisionless, but they're going to be like they're going to. It's going to be tough for teams like ours, like Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, like those teams that are just like got so close to tasting it.
you maybe
Now,
get 2 of those games, 2 wins. You might
Yeah.
beat USC, you might beat UCLA, but you're not gonna beat that whole gauntlet of Oregon and Ohio.
or does the winner of the Big Ten now have like
I
3
guess
losses? You know what I mean? Like with the Big Ten getting
probably
so
probably
big.
2.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, probably.
Is there not gonna be a Big Ten championship game anymore?
they might just do the top 2 teams.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. Actually, I don't know how that's gonna work. It's gonna be interesting to see, especially with new playoffs and stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Should we tease anything for this coming up weekend?
What is week 11? Do we know what the schedule is? Let me pull it up here.
So it shows Michigan is favored by 6.5 points at Penn State.
Really interesting opening line, 6.5. Wow. Yeah. I take Michigan all the way. I'll make that bet right now. I think they're going to put at least 15, 17 points on Penn State.
Yeah. 6.5 points.
Definitely 3-score game.
In the away game at Penn State. So,
how are our bets going?
Is that a noon game?
I need to tally them up again. Huh?
What? Is it a noon game?
Oh,
is that going to be a noon game?
Yes. Yeah, you can't let the Sandusky's drink too much.
Why not make that a night game? I don't understand.
Because no children are
literally for drinking reasons.
Yeah, I think
so. Is the big noon kickoff going to be in Penn State?
Probably. It's on Fox. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be the game. So probably won't be a whiteout then, huh? If it's going to be at 10 or noon. So
no. I wonder what the night game will be for next week.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the night game will be for next week. Big Ten. Let's see. We can check real quick. Big Ten. Oh, that's not Big Ten. What the hell?
Because Ohio State, who do they play?
Aren't they due for a bye?
When I filter Big Ten, it says there are no Big Ten games, so my app is broken.
What do you go on?
I'm on CBS Sports right now.
Oh,
So it's Maryland, Nebraska, Michigan, Penn
right,
State,
yeah.
Oh, it's
Indiana,
Michigan State,
Illinois.
Ohio State.
Yeah, Rutgers at Iowa, Minnesota at Purdue, Northwestern at Wisconsin, and yeah, East Landfill going to Ohio State. Whew.
Did Michigan State pull the upset off?
Mm, you crushed there.
Dude, Nebraska is on
Let's
Peacock.
Is that the night? Is that the night game?
It's Ohio State, MSU. Is the night game.
Yeah, gross.
That's the night game.
That's the night game.
No.
You know, a good
Do
game
better.
next week
Why
is gonna
couldn't it be Iowa Rutgers?
Well,
Y'all play on the Big Ten Network at 2:30. So you'll get Matt Millen and Okie Bajoki calling that game.
Well, let's go.
All right,
Let's
boys.
go Michigan.
yeah, I'm gonna pick them. I'll pick them to win.
For sure.
All right. Well, Friday. I think Saturday morning we can do it. I guess if you want to.
Yeah.
Otherwise we could do Friday night. So let me know.
Yeah, I think
And 3
Friday
weeks left,
night
gentlemen.
might be better for me next week if possible. So
Friday?
yeah, Friday probably be better for me
Alright.
because I think I'm working Saturday morning on I'm on a rig. So
Damn. You just been so busy.
yeah, I know it's been a pain in the butt. Hopefully, once all these classes are over in December, though, I'll have much more free times. Early December, I'll be out of classes. So
I want to talk about your James Franco tattoos you have on your body that are just kind of here and there.
James
What do you
Franco
got?
tattoo.
Martinez up the sideline. Still running. Look out. Taylor Martinez. Look right. He's got it late. Martinez. Whoa. Taylor Martinez. Touchdown. Husker. Play fake. Beathard sets up deep in the pocket. Goes down the field for Smith.
Has some time. Lost
Steps up, does it. Pass is caught. That'll move the sticks.